This is page 12 of a comic book I'm doing called The Raven. It is a one-shot comic. It's going to be 24 pages long. It's my first attempt of doing a comic professionally, I suppose you could say. I mean, I did some comics when I was younger. Never to the level that I'm doing it now with full written out story, knowing where I'm going and kind of sketching everything, because I just never really took it this far, so to speak. So at any rate, what I'm going to do is start with, well, I'm going to start with this first panel at the top up here, which you can see Skeptic goes to their car to find Intrigue's car is still there. So for this, I usually don't use references because I like to sketch quickly. Nothing wrong with using references, obviously. I don't mean that at all. I just personally like to sketch the idea, get a feel for where everything's going to go, and then if I feel I need to grab a reference, then I will. And so since this is, I don't actually have the name for these characters because they're not there very long. So I didn't think I was going to need to name the characters because Skeptic, because, you know, they're not very long in this story, if you know what I mean. All right, so what I'm going to do is start off by figuring out where I want to have the car. So he's going to go back. The character's going back to see the other car is still there. So he's going to be shocked to see that. I do have a car from the previous one, and I didn't have to see where it's at. I don't remember what page it's on. This page, yeah. I guess I do know. I'm going to take this wherever that drawing might be. So this card needs to be, really it should be in this shot too. I think I know what I'm going to do for this. Steal this one. Oh, great artists copy themselves. So this car, I think I'm just going to put this maybe over here. And I'm going to grab another reference for another vehicle because while I don't usually like to draw too much from reference because it's good for flexing the brain. I think the thing that's useful though, stuff like cars, you can get a generic idea of what to make the car look like. I made her car look, this is the girl's car, by the way, and I made her car look kind of old school and boxy. I think I will give the other guy's car a little bit more, I don't know, a little more style than that. Might even know what I'm drawing. So when I sketch, I just kind of look for the main shapes first. So if you want to start, like I'm drawing a person, I usually draw with the nose first. And with a car, it's usually easier for me to draw like a box to get an idea of where the car is going to look. And you can always rescale stuff digitally, right? So you can do one of these, you know, get a feel for where the car's wheel wells are. And I'm not super stressed about where everything lines up at this moment. I just want to get the feel for the car. And if I get it looking somewhat decent, then I'll finalize it. But I want to look like a car first. Yeah, know what I mean? Some of you might know what car I'm drawing. I'm only borrowing it. I'm not completely stealing it. Just a reference of a car. And then I'm going to draw the circles. Of course, the wheel's under there somewhere. And you're thinking about a tire too. You know, you got to think about where the tread is underneath the wheel. So, and I know those are crappy looking wheels for now, but for now I'm just, again, give them some stylized rims, you know what I mean? That's close enough for me. I'm just cutting in the idea for now, and I know it's not going to look spectacular currently, but I'm not that concerned about it. I can always clean it up. Cat's over here staring me down. And if that's, you know, if this looks a little too short or if I don't like the way it is, that's cool. You can always elongate it. As Bob Ross used to say, it's your world. do with it as you please, more or less. If you want to elongate the wheelbase, that's what I'm doing. A little door here. And I know it looks like a turd right now, but again, it's just meant to be a rough reference for where I'm going with it. Cars are machined, obviously, so you don't have to be super perfect with them, but it does help to be somewhat accurate. Because again, this isn't meant to be an illustration of a car. I honestly, I could draw this really super hyper realistically if I wanted to. I don't like doing that because, for one thing, it takes a lot of time, and I don't have a lot of that. You do you, boo boo. If you want to make it look more real, that's fine. I just don't see the point for me, because you're going to look at this for like 10 seconds tops. You're probably not even going to look at this that detailed. Now, if I were doing this to sell it, which I'm not. I'm actually going to release this comic book as a I might put it on Tapas and Webtoons. I might do that. I'm not entirely sure. Looks close enough to a car like that to me. I don't know. I'll fix the back end though. I'm not trying to be absolutely lazy about my drawing either. I'm just trying to get it where I feel I'm trying to get it to where I feel like it's doing what I need it to do, and for the sake of drawing the for the sake of telling the story, I want to make sure that obviously that the car looks decent, but it doesn't have to be perfect for me. That's just me though. Like I said, y'all do you, man. If you feel like you need to draw something super detailed, that's fine. I'm not going to leave it exactly like this. If you knew anything about me, you would know I love cars, and I'm not doing them any justice right now. But this isn't really the point of the story. This is just to set up this is part of the setup of the story. So, again, however you want to do it, but me personally, I don't want to spend too much time on details because it's just me doing this by myself, and I'd like to get this story done at some point. That's about it. I'm just trying to sketch the idea of the car that I can come back to later and refine if I need to or if I'd like to, which, I might. But at least it'll be a car, at least to me. It works well enough, and it gives that effect that these cars are sitting at different angles from each other. Also, I should probably draw another car. If I leave that one there. because this wasn't shown in the other panel, so that'd be kind of cool. This one could be a little closer. I could do one more car. Again, when I come back in and I ink all this is all just preliminary drawing stuff. I'm going to try to make this look cleaner. I know the wheels look like crap and all that good stuff. I'm sort of storyboarding as I go, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Because I did write a story out. I do have the entire dialogue, any monologue, any narration and stuff, like, anything that needs to be. In comics, you have things like they're like annotations that you put little boxes, and it tells you what if a scene changes, or if you're trying to set up the setting of the scene or whatever, and let the reader know where they're at in the scene. It's really good for that. But I personally think this will do just fine for setting up what's going on. Again, it's your comic, man. It's your story. It's whatever. I don't expect this to be, some really big soul comic book. I've always loved comics and the stories behind them, and so I wanted to try to tell one of my own. Kind of came to me one day. It was I was about to fall asleep, actually. I woke up and I just told my wife, I was like, what about this story? She was like, well, that'd be kind of cool. And she's not one that, she doesn't really, I mean, she loves stories, but I don't think she's read a comic since she was a kid. So she's really supportive about everything I do, though. I gotta say, she puts up with a lot. She really does. Because I'm a little bit of that creative ADHD, you know what I mean? I do a lot of different things, and so it's a lot for her to have to process, I feel like. But, she deals with it better than probably most people could. I'm just a rambling fool. Let's see here. So this guy is colored up. And see, I didn't even color the other car. I draw it however I want to draw it at that particular moment. If I come back later, I'll make everything look refined. But I think that's good enough to make it look like a car. And it doesn't, again, for me, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's when I come back and do this with the ink, it's going to, it's digital ink, but still, when I come back to do this, it's going to look much crisper, sharper lines. But this is just giving me an idea of where to put everything. And that's enough for me. I'm just trying to get the story done. Get ahead of myself, because you never know when something's going to come up and I'm not going to be working on this. Someone's working on something else. It's not like I don't have other work to do. I think that works. No, I'm just nitpicking. So that one's done. I just need another vehicle. Again, I'm going to come back and draw. I know I said this a bunch, but I'm going to come back and fix these rims and stuff, because I can, they look like crap right now, but I'm just throwing something together. I think I'm going to give the other dude, I'm going to give him a truck. He looks like he drives a truck. He looks like a good old boy. And I'm just looking for a generic truck to drive. Oh, let's give him this is the fun part. I get to pick what the characters drive. I should give him an old Chevy Classic. That'd be cool. Maybe like an old Ford. Actually, that'd be kind of fun. Let's do that. Why not? We'll run with that one. So I guess I could just put the front of his truck over here in this section. So because I can also scale that car down if I need to. Yeah, I might have to. It's a little. Yeah, I didn't shade her car either. But that's okay. I'll get there. Maybe something like that. And then I gotta draw his little truck. Well, I say little, but it's a big old truck. Let me put that on another layer just because it's easier. You can always edit it out. All right. Yeah, so start with a box. Right? So a truck is just a big old lawn box. So we're going to do the front part of that truck. Start with a cube. A very easy way to do it. Just so you have like a reference to what you're drawing. Well, a guideline for what you're drawing. And I probably won't leave it this big, but I'm just drawing it this way because I want to make sure I have well, I need room to draw everything. All right, so this is going to be like the grill here. And then draw the front of the hood. On these big old trucks, they have big monster hoods. Big old square lights on it. All right, well, wheel well. They're pretty good, pretty much up to the front here. It's not big enough for a truck tire. Actually, I used to work on cars for a living. Well, cars and trucks, motorcycles. And I guess that kind of helps to know what everything looks like. Because I know where everything is, where the axles are, and all the lower control arms and all that kind of stuff, tie rods. But I'm not going to draw that in there because there's not much point. Yeah, that's a fun story. How I became a software engineer, even though I worked on cars. I've always been into engineering in general. Engineering and cars go vroom, that kind of stuff. I've always loved race cars and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't like that line. We'll just make our own little hood here. That works. So yeah, I learned to work on cars. I didn't have anybody to teach me when I was a kid. I learned on my own. I say kid, I was a teenager going to my early 20s. But I didn't have anybody to show me how to do any of that stuff. And both my older brothers were grown by the time I was old enough to start working on cars and stuff. And it was basically just me and my mom for a long time. And nobody around me really knew how to work on cars. And then I just kind of wanted to know. And then Fast and Furious came out after around that time. And guess what? Everybody and their mother was messing with their cars. So I kind of fell into that. I love me some cars though, man. I love racing. The big old hoop, do you have a truck I'm drawing for him? I yeah, I love race cars and motorcycles, and I've owned a few motorcycles. My first was a Ninja 250, a little tiny little thing, almost like a little learner bike, and that was a good bike to learn on. Honestly, I mean, I already knew how to ride because I rode dirt bikes, but riding on the street and riding in the dirt is an entirely different experience. Yeah, I just learned to ride on that 250, man, and then I got a. Eventually, I wanted to upgrade, and I got a Honda VFR 800, which seems like a big jump of a bike. It's not though, because that bike was really, really well. It was tame. It was tame for as much power as it had, and it was really great, like cruising bike. It's sort of like a mix between a sport bike and a cruising bike. That was a fun bike to ride. And then I eventually ended up getting a. This cab's a little short, I think. I'll make this cab a little longer. I eventually got another bike years later because I had to sell that bike because I became a musician. So I told you to do a lot of stuff. And I decided I was going to, be in a rock band. And I was too. A few of them actually. And because of that, I sold my bike so I can get a car so I could, go play music with people. And I was coming out of a relationship at the time, and I don't know, it was a good change. His back end is not matching his front end. Boy, that is not working. Let me fix that. I guess I could just fix the front end. It don't need to be that big. This big old hoop of a truck you got going on here. But yeah, I had a couple of bikes, man. I had a Honda Shadow 750 was the last bike I had, and that was a good ride. I ain't gonna lie. I miss riding. But, it's what it is. Gotta do what you gotta do. So, anyway, that's why I'm probably taking way too long on these cars as I'm talking about them, because I said I was just gonna make it quick, but just short up this front end a little bit. That sort of looks like a truck. I don't know. Like when I was 10 years old and drew one. I'm just going to elongate this truck's bed because I feel like it's too short. I wanted to kind of frame it in here, but I think it just doesn't look right to me. So I'm going to line it up to one of these numbers. It's looking a bit like Mater, isn't it? That's the Mater. He has a little mouth. His eyes. Oh, I'm just kidding. There's a wheel bet here somewhere. It'd make more sense to actually just draw it in frame and then move it around. But you know what? Oh, well. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not trying to ramble on y'all, but I like me some cars and trucks, boy. That sort of looks like a truck. Let me just pull his other side up a little bit more. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Perspective and all, but, you know, to some extent, you got to keep it kind of, because you're not looking at it from a weird perspective here. That's better to me anyway. I don't mind making a lot of mess when I draw, because again, I'm gonna fix all this up, so I'm not too worried about it. That ought to work. You got an big old pickup truck, you know. The point for me is to tell a story, and if I can get a story done, I'm doing my job. So, for the sake of this scene, that should pretty much work. This is a little top-down heavy from the angle he'd be standing at. So what I can do is I can just scale it back. If I scale it down, this is why it's on a separate thing too, by the way. Separate layer is I can cheat a little digitally. I can move around where I need them. This way he's kind of like walking up to, it could be on a hill too, by the way. You know, I think people forget that. Like I'm from Florida, but I lived in Kentucky for a few years when I was a kid, and then we lived up back up in Tennessee as an adult, and in Kentucky actually again. And it's funny though, if you're from a place where there's not a lot of hills or mountains, you don't really think about perspective changing when you're on top of a hill looking down. It really messes with your perspective if you're not used to it. So you could be standing on a hill and looking straight at that car, or if that car is on a hill, and then this one next to it could be on a slump from that hill. And then this could be like going down this way. And if you were standing on a hill yourself that matches the height of that car, then this one would look less and less in perspective with this one. So it's not necessarily wrong. You just have to make sure you know where your character's standing and make sense of that. So if I really wanted to, I could level them dead on with each other, but I figure they're out in the woods and they just park their cars wherever they wanted to. My cat is rubbing all over me. So anyway, let's see. Yeah, me talking is definitely taking longer. It's 30 minutes for one panel. And so anyway, I might as well shade up this car while I'm at it. This other one back here. Where's this guy? I'll just shade underneath the car like this. And the wheels a little. Just for continuity's sake, so I know later what I'm looking at. So yeah, I mean, that can make sense if this car is further off in the distance and it's on a slight incline of a hill, or however you want to think of it. So I'm okay with that. It don't have to be perfect. But these two kind of line up with each other, and then this one kind of lines up with that one. So to me, it makes enough sense. So the only other thing is I wanted to draw the other guy. So he's going to show up here, the other guy. The other guy is the skeptic guy who doesn't really believe all this stuff. he's going to show, I'll just draw the back of his head. So start with your circle, right? Just circle. And then the side of your head is more or less flat like that, right? And then the back of your skull comes down where your cerebellum is, and you have this connection more or less here. But you're going to cover it with hair, so it doesn't matter much. And then the back of the ear kind of does something like that, depending on how you're looking at someone's ear. They have a sort of like that little, almost cone-like thing that comes off of the back of your ear, and then it curls back in somewhere around there. And he's a big dude, so he's got a rather stocky neck, shoulders. I was kind of making him, well, his neck shouldn't be that big. That's a little bit much. And I'm going to cover it with hair anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But if you get to this point and you don't like what you're looking at, if you don't like the shape of a hit, you can always just squash it down, which I'm probably going to do. Most of the time I can get it where I like it, but sometimes it just, I don't know, doesn't sit right with me. So your neck connects to these two lower, there's two little bones that stick out of the bottom of your skull. They're like little processes, what I'm trying to say. And they more or less look like that. And his head should be a little bit more. His hair is going to be a little disheveled because he's been through some stuff today. And then the hair, for a lot of us, the hair goes around the side of your head, kind of covers that ear, you know. But I draw through just so that I know what I'm looking at. And he's got like a V-neck kind of shirt on, I think he is. And so here, just the idea that he's got hair. Right. And I know this looks lazy in comparison to, I could draw him like this. I could draw him really, really detailed if I wanted to, but for the sake of what I'm doing, I don't think it's really necessary. Looks like a person of me. Although, see her down here, it's a little wonky. That'll work. The knowing the shape of the skull is actually more important for the other guy because he's bald. But funny enough, you're not going to see him again on the rest of this comic. So I don't have to worry about drawing him again. But for the sake of argument, when I drew the other guy's skull here, say he's got like the bottom of the base of his skull and then those two protrusions, like I said, that come out where your muscles connect to the back of your neck there and goes down into his shoulders. So for here, I was going to leave. It's not obvious that, he doesn't know that his friend isn't there, but you could tell there's three people. There's three people at the campfire. There's three cars. No one's left yet. So I'm thinking he's probably just going to say something like, where is he? Or like, where did he go? Because he knows that he ran back to his car. So he's trying to figure out, like, what is going on here. Grab this here balloon. Wait, this. Yep. Wait, I don't know if I like it like that. Let's see. And then I grab the little tail thing. Where's the thought balloon? Here we go. So he's just thinking to himself. Wait, why I did that? That works. See, because he's thinking his friend's going to get in his car and take off, and he didn't. So if you look at let's see, the last page, just to be sure. Page 11. See, he says he must be going to his car. So then him being like, where is he? Makes sense to think that to himself. I think. I don't know. But that's one panel down. I actually drew quite a bit with these cars. I wasn't expecting to draw that much. But it does the job, I think. What do I know? If you want to spend more time focusing on details like that, that is entirely up to you. And I don't hate on people for putting detail like that. It's just that I'm doing this entirely by myself. And I just do not have... I don't really have the time to be doing that, honestly. That's all it is. I mean, if I had all the time in the world, great. I could just, draw this forever. But I don't. I want to get this done and get it out there. I actually have a plan to make this into a motion comic, possibly. Or at least narrated with music and sound effects, Foley and all that stuff. I do have the ability to animate, so I might do that. If anything, just really minor motion. Nothing crazy. Probably do it in After Effects. Anyway, if you stayed this far, thank you for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know if you like this kind of long-form content. I'm looking for something that can be engaging and be interesting to share. But I'm going to probably do them anyway. I'll probably just throw them out there. If you guys want to listen to them, you can always hit mute if you don't like what I'm saying or if I'm getting on your nerves. Hey, huh? Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.